Hello and welcome to the Next Gen Racing YouTube channel for our weekend preview. We're going to be looking at one race from Warwick, and then we're going to look at the card at Newbury for the big race there, which is the Betfair Hurdle. We've got plenty of graded races on the card there as well. As always, we're writers for the Racing Head magazine. Do check them out in the description. As you can see on the screen now, we still have tickets available for our Cheltenham Festival Preview Night. Do get in touch on the email that you can see on screen. I will give you an email and let you know if you can still purchase a ticket. There are a few available, so do get in touch. And we are going to be giving away plenty of stuff via these guys here, Hacked Up Horse Racing Gifts. I'm sure a lot of you have seen them. We've got plenty of socks, mugs, the lot to give away. I think they've got a great offer on it as well at the moment. I think if you go over there, I think it's CHELT25, CHELT25, it's 25% off during February. So certainly worth checking that out and getting your orders in probably prior to Cheltenham. Getting those socks ready for the big week in March. Right, let's get into the weekend preview then. We'll start off with Warwick, where we're going to just preview the one race there before getting into Newbury. And this is the Kingmaker Novices Chase. This is a 2-mile Grade 2. It's at 2:05 there at Warwick. And Edwardstone is your even money favourite. Third time lucky is 9-4. Brave Siaska is 5-1. For Pleasure is 20-1. Jack, there are only 4 runners in this race. It looks quite a hot affair in terms of the British contingent going towards the Arkle, and we're probably going to see the winner of this be the leading contender for the Arkle in March with this prize on Saturday.
Yeah, it's a very intriguing race. I'm pretty much putting it to a match-up between the two, of course. For Pleasure is going to go off at a decent pace out front, which we know he always does. But it's a little bit interesting. I was listening to Alan King on Nick Lock Daily the other day talking about Edwardstone, and I don't know, he seemed a little bit tentative about going here and reopposing third time lucky. He gets a little bit fresh in his races. I think he's very impressive. He jumps very well. He's very impressive last time out at Kempton, but I'm not too sure that the prices truly reflect the actual difference between the two on ability. I think third time lucky was nowhere near his best at Sandown when being completely destroyed by Edwardstone, and he was very impressive next time out at Doncaster. Of course, he wastes a lot of energy mid-race, and he just seems like not everything's kind of gone his way at the moment. He hasn't quite got the rub of the green, and I think at 15-8 he'd probably be my pick of the two, probably just at the prices. I think Edwardstone has plenty of ability, but I wouldn't be surprised to see third time lucky turn the tables.
Yeah, it's I'm in the same opinion really, and you can get 9-4 available, Jack, at the moment. I did check that out just before we came on. So it's a fairly decent price, but I am with you. Look, there was 16 lengths between them at Sandown, and I thought Edwardstone, I think he still is a very, very good horse, but prior to Sandown, I thought third time lucky was just as good, if not better. And we were both surprised. We were there that day for the Tingle Creek, and we were kind of shocked to see third time lucky go off in front. The way he did. I mean, in his 2 previous runs, we obviously saw him, he had a lead to aim at. I think that's kind of how he likes things. He did put in some spectacular leaps from the front of Sandown, but there were a few errors out in front. And whether he just got a little bit lonely as a novice, I don't know. But it's one of those. But look, we saw him at Doncaster again. He was given a nice lead and he aimed at that horse and he did it really nicely. And a lot of people are fancying this horse moving forward to the Arkle now after that performance. I still think he's a very good horse. Look, Edwardstone, he's a very interesting matchup, because if you were just to take it on face value in the form, then you think Edwardstone should be easily winning this. But I think third time lucky's still got plenty of improvement in the bag, and I think that run at Sandown, I don't know, it just wasn't right. I can't really get to grips of what actually happened, but I just think now third time lucky can potentially get something to aim at in this race, something like a For Pleasure or Brave Siaska. I think we will see a lot better from him. I think Brave Siaska is a very interesting one. I think we might see this horse get himself handicapped. I don't know for a Grand Annual, but we might have to see a lot of people fancying this horse for a Grand Annual. So we'll have to see. But they are running for an informed stable in Venetia Williams. So a very interesting race. But Jack and I are just playing third time lucky here as the second favourite. A bit of value there at 9-4. Now let's get into the main bulk of the preview, which is going to be Newbury, where most of the action is there on Saturday. And we'll kick things off with the 1:15. It's probably not a race that we would have been previewing, but this is a 3-mile novice handicap chase. It's quite an interesting one because Brave Man's Game is in here. So he's the 4-5 favourite. He's taking on Pat's Fancy, who's 9-2. Grumpy Charlie, who's 5-1. Fern Hill, 12-1. Galley Hill, 22-1. IK Brunel is 25-1. Look, this isn't a betting race for me. It really isn't, but it is an interesting affair to discuss. Look, Brave Man's Game is giving weight all around here. It really is interesting, and I think a lot of people are saying that I think it's Pat's Fancy is one that a lot of people fancy for the National Hunt Chase at the festival, one that is going to be a proper stayer. But I think Brave Man's Game, if he is to announce himself as a real contender for the festival Novice Chase, which he already has, don't get me wrong, but if he's really going to stick his neck out and go, look, I am a real challenger potentially to Galopin Des Champs if he were to go there, he's got to win this fairly convincingly. If he can win this off top weight and put these rivals away with ease, then look, I think he's one to definitely be reckoned with it and not to be messed with come the festival. Jack, do you think it's just a matter of Brave Man's Game going and winning this, despite the stable being in slightly poor form?
Yeah, I think he absolutely has to. As you say, I mean, Paul Nicholls has won from 37 in the last 14 days, which is slightly worrying. I mean, he said he doesn't really know why it is. I don't really think there's no rhyme or reason behind it. I think it's just one of those bad runs that they're going through. And it would be good to see Brave Man's Game go and do the business. But I mean, he's giving at least £16 away to all of his rivals. It will be some performance. I mean, Pat's Fancy is a good handicapper, of course. Won well at Chepstow, beating Imperial Alcazar, and of course Imperial Alcazar went and made that form look very nicely at Cheltenham not so long ago. So Pat's Fancy is clearly a decent candidate, but Brave Man's Game, if he is going to put it up to Galopin Des Champs, who I'm certain goes over 3 miles. I don't think they'll opt for 2.5 mile and go against Bob Ollinger. But if Brave Man's Game is to lay down the gauntlet to Galopin Des Champs, he's going to have to do this with some ease. Of course, he's very good over his obstacles. It's like he's so elegant over the obstacles. He takes lengths out of horses. He's very nice to watch in that respect, but I mean, he put away a Hoy Senior in good style last time out. I think he uses class, and hopefully, even though he's carrying a lot of weight, I mean, I'm surprised to see him go here, if I'm being honest, before Cheltenham. I thought they would have gone for something probably a little bit easier than this off top weight, but I mean, if he is to throw it down to the Irish boys, he's going to have to do it and do it in some good style.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. You mentioned Galopin Des Champs there. As much as Ruby Walsh keeps saying that horse is going to go to the Turners, Jack and I are still convinced we're going to see this horse in the Brown Advisory at the festival. 100%. We'll wait and see. But yeah, not a betting race for myself and Jack, but we do expect Brave Man's Game to go and do the business. Be interesting to see how well he does go and do that on Saturday. Let's move on to the graded action on the card now. This is the 225, which is the Denman Chaser, Grade 2, over 3 miles. Clanders Ovo's your even money favourite. Royal Pagaille is 5-2. Imperial Aura is 7-1. Eldorado Allen's 12-1. The Rasher Counter is 33-1. Jack, I know you're a massive fan of Royal Pagaille, and look, he's going to be running for a stable and jockey who are well in form. Do you actually think he's the one to beat here over the favourite?
Yeah, 100%. I think Royal Pagaille has it all to lose. I mean, if you look at that Peter Marsh win last time out, I mean, second place Sam Brown was carrying 10 stone 8, so he was giving away a stone and £2 to the second place, and was giving away over nearly 2 stone to the third place. I mean, I think you can really boost that bare form of it. Of course, there were just handicappers who he beat, but I mean, he did it in some game style. I mean, the ground was perfect for him. Of course, he loves Haydock as well. The good to soft ground won't really play into his hands. Of course, he loves the mud, but I think Clanders Ovo finished second in a really muddled King George. I'm not one to really look at that form too deeply. I don't know how strong it really is. Of course, with Frodo and Manella Indo both going off so hard out front. So, of course, Clanders Ovo's got plenty of class. I mean, the cheek pieces, what they've done to him has been absolutely sensational. I mean, the way it's kind of put him forward. But, I mean, I would like to think, although it's over 3 miles, I think Royal Pagaille wants to go further and further. I'd like to think, hopefully, Royal Pagaille can put himself in a good nick before the festival, before his Gold Cup attempt. And Imperial Aura, I mean, if you look at his form, it's kind of becoming like the alphabet now. I mean, he doesn't really like finishing a race. It's really odd there. Eldorado Allen as well finished second last time out. That was an okay performance behind Mr. Fisher. But I mean, Mr. Fisher, again, is he really in the upper echelon of chasers? I wouldn't say so. I mean, Clanders Ovo and Royal Pagaille, it looks like it will be a matchup again. Will Royal Pagaille's class tell? I'm not too sure. I hope so. But Clanders Ovo, of course, with the cheek pieces, is definitely one to be reckoned with. But I'm going to side with Royal Pagaille. I think at the prices as well. Charlie Deutsch, Venetia Williams, you'd be a brave man to back against them.
Yeah, no, very true. I completely agree with you, Jack. And I think the Royal Pagaille, I think you agree in the fact that, he needs to go, he'd be better over further. And ideally, he'd want a strong pace in him. Only worry would be that there's only the 5 runners in there. You'd like to hope that one of them will go off, and set a decent pace. But with 5 runners, it'd be interesting to see. I think in the Gold Cup, it could be better suited to him, although there'll be a lot more ability in terms of the horses in there. I'm actually going to have a small win playing here. And I'm going to admit that I was wrong, which, I probably should do more often, to be totally honest.
Yeah.
We preview... I'll tell you what, I wasn't wrong with Goshen. I said he'd win another race. He's won his race. Look, that was last weekend. But yeah, with regards to Eldorado Allen, now I actually said that this horse, I felt he was better over a 2 mile trip over fences, right? I mean, you did say, Jack, you think the 2 mile force for his preferred trip, and I didn't think he was a proper stayer. However, I was quite impressed by this horse in the Silviniaco Conti Chase. He finished 53 lengths in front of Rouge Viv, and he ran a decent race behind Mr. Fisher and kept on fairly well. Now, this is the first time that they're going to be trying this horse over 3 miles under any discipline, hurdles or fences. And look, I think the horse has to fight, I think it's £17 with Clanders over and £11 with Royal Pagaille, which is a hell of a lot. It really is. But I just think that potentially the Tizzards have really looked into this. If they're going to find some improvement in this horse, this 3 mile trip might just find that. I think 12 to 1 with just a small win play might just be worthwhile in this small field. It could get quite messy between the two at the top, could become a bit of a match. And look, you don't know what this 3 mile trip could bring out, and it could bring out some improvements. I think 12 to 1. Look, it'll be a small win play for me. I wouldn't be playing me each way in here with 2 places. I think if he's going to do it, he'd go and win it. But yeah, I'm going to have a small win play on Eldorado Allen at 12 to 1. And Jack will be with Royal Pagaille. Let's go on to the 3 o'clock at Newbury. This is the Game Spirit Chase. This is over 2 miles. Scorow is your 5 to 2 favourite. Hitman 11 to 4. Fernando Civola is 7 to 2. And Sky Pirate 5 to 1. Sadly, we don't see Editor de Gite in here, who's unfortunately had I think there's something wrong with the blood analysis of this horse. Let's just hope everything's okay with the horse, and who knows, we may get to see him come the festival, which would be really nice. Now, I'm going to be straight up here. I quite like Hitman. And I think I've mentioned on here before. Now, like I mentioned earlier, Jack and I were at the Tingle Creek, and I actually went down to see Grenadine as he came in after winning the Tingle Creek. And I'm not going to quote anything here because I don't have the official quote, but the way that Nichols came over and a lot of people were saying, well done, Paul, he was kind of more impressed with how Hitman had run in that race than Grenadine. He was quite pleased with both horses, but he was very, very complimentary about Hitman's run. Now, this horse is only 6, and he does make a few almost novice-y mistakes still at fences, but he has tons of speed and tons of ability. And look, he's taking on horses here. I mean, Sco Royale is a bit of a legend in some sense because he's a horse that likes to switch from fences to hurdles and can win over either discipline. And I think he's a very, very impressive horse, and he obviously runs well in this race and has a good record at running well in this. And I think the 5 to 2 potentially for favourite backers, it could be one of those horses where he'll be in a lot of multiples come the weekend. But I just think Hitman, if he can get his jumping right, he has the speed to go and win this. The one worry I would have is the form of the yard. But look, I kind of go by the thing where if I think a horse is certainly good enough, I think he will just go and win this. And I do think that. I think Fernando Civola, another horse who's potentially got some improvement in him. I do think that potentially with the yard form, that would also be a worry. But I just think that if Hitman can put things together, look, he could be a good horse, especially in a year or two's time. He could even be taken on as a 6-year-old. He could be taken on Goshen next year over fences, as we've heard. You never know over 2 miles, which is exciting to see. I cannot wait. I still can't get over last weekend. But yeah, I just think that Hitman could be potentially a decent bet at 11 to 4 here. I think Nichols, by the way, was talking, felt like he was going to win next time out. And I'm glad, because I said I'm going to back this horse next time out. And I'm glad they haven't gone straight to the Champion Chase, because that is way too hot for me to back in this horse. But I think 11 to 4 is a fair price, and I'll be backing Hitman on Saturday. Jack, what about yourself?
Yeah, I'm 100% with you. I mean, it's one of those scratchy races. I mean, the market says that as well when you look at pretty much 3 co-favourites there. It's an intriguing race. I mean, So Royale, of course, he's a bit of a warrior, isn't he? He's very consistent. He's kind of like a grade yardstick as such. He'll always be there or thereabouts. But for me, the Hitman and both Fernando Civola are both on the up. And for me, they're both improving. That run at Hitman, I think that's his most encouraging run I've seen in a long time. Of course, he failed to justify favouritism in the Howden Gold Cup, finishing second that day. But again, Paul Nichols has seemed very bullish about his chances next time out. He's still very unexposed. Let's not forget, he's only ran in 7 chases. I think he's still definitely on the up. He just needs to get his head in front, and I think the ball will start rolling from there. I mean, of course, you've got Sky Pirate, who can't be forgotten about as well. He finished second behind Brave Siaska last time out. Of course, probably needs to take a big step forward there. But for me, I'm with you, Sam. I think Hitman is on the up, and I'll give him one more chance to get his head in front.
There we go. Yeah, Hitman for myself and Jack. It's an interesting one in the Game Spirit Chase. Now, the final race we're going to preview, this is one where hopefully we'll come up with a decent price together. This is one of the big handicap hurdles of the year. It's the Betfair hurdle, It's at 3.35. This is a 2 mile Class 1 hurdle. Broomfield Berg is your 5-1 favourite. JPR1 is 11-2. Soaring Glory and Nappers Hill are 7s. Boot Hill's 9-1. Jator, and I like to move it there, 10-1. Tritonic 11s, 50 ball 12s, and Bigger the rest. Jack, you start this one off. Have you got one at double figure odds in here, or are you going to go right?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of JPR one, but for me, I can't pick a favourite in a big handicap like the Betfair Hurdle. I'd kick myself if I would. I mean, I was very impressed with his run on debut, winning behind in front of both Iron Maximus and Luxury Lad. I thought that was a red hot novice event that he won first time out. Of course, finished second at Cheltenham, which I was a little bit frustrated with at 9-2, and then won comfortably last time out. Stepped up in trip. I think maybe 2 mile 4 will be where we can see him to his best ability at 9-2. I don't think there's too much leeway there as such in the price. I mean, looking in behind Broomfield Berg and Nappers Hill, again, they're both probably going to be very good in time, but I'm probably going to opt for 1 or 2 at a bigger price. I mean, Ryan Potter has been so bullish about Jetol. Of course, finished second to Constitution Hill last time out. I mean, left in the wake of Constitution Hill by 12 lengths, but he's just done everything right. And I mean, he may be behind just a very good novice in Constitution Hill. So at 10-1, I think he's a relatively decent bet. But I'm going to actually be with Glory and Fortune at 14-1 for Tom Lacey. I mean, there's been a lot of money come for him. He was available at 22, 25-1 not so long ago. But I was really impressed with his second in the Christmas hurdle behind Epperton. He's only been put up £3 for that. He was also 6th in the Greatwood, and of course that's worked out like a lovely bit of form. I think dropping back to this 2 mile trip has worked an absolute treat. Of course, he was second to Epperton, giving Epperton weight as well. I think he looks primed to win a big handicap of 143, and I think 14-1, 16-1, if you can get it available, I think that's a very good price.
Okay, yeah, fair enough. I mean, I've got a couple of double figure odds as well in this race here, and I actually like, oh god, shock, I like a Gary Moore horse in this race, and I like 50 ball. Now I think the 50 ball, look, he's going off the same rating as was last year of 131. I think that it's fair to say things haven't worked out for this horse over fences. It just hasn't been his game, and I find it really fascinating that they're coming here straight back to the hurdle route. And I just think he's another horse in these now what I like to call famous colours who has his quirks about him. In this race last year, he was taken down early to start, was very keen during the race. He hung left when asked questions, but he still managed to finish second behind Soaring Glory, who I think Soaring Glory now is like well up in the weights, like 16 odd pound, I think it is in the weights, compared to the £2 from last year. And I just think that 131 potentially they could still expose this mark over hurdles. And I think he's a fair price at 12-1 for a horse who's finished second in here before. Now, the other horse that I think could be overpriced in here, and it'd be a mad one, but it'd be one if you could get extra places, maybe could be worth a small each way play. The horse is 50-1. And this is Lord Baddesley for the Chris Gordon yard. Now, the reason I actually like this horse is Chris Gordon had another horse at a big price a few years back called Remy Luck, who ran a massive race in this, who I think he placed 4th, I think, in this race. I might be wrong there, but he ran an absolutely huge race, and he's actually one of the only 2 horses in here who's a course and distance winner. And you just never know in these Betfair hurdles. You often see a horse slide in there at big prices, and Chris Gordon may have this horse ready. He's been in decent form. We see a lot of his runners starting to go in now. And his recent form tells you absolutely nothing. It really does. But I think 50-1 potentially he could squeak into a place. But 50 ball will be my main selection in that race. So there we go. A few selections for the Betfair hurdle, and Jack and I have a few agreements on some of the big graded races from the weekend as well. Let's get into our nap and next best. I don't want to put any curse on myself, but I am on for a hat trick of naps coming up. So I'll put mine up first, and my nap is at 12-1, and it will be an each way nap this week due to the Betfair hurdle, and it will be 50 ball. Jack, your nap of the weekend?
My nap of the week is going to be Hitman in the Game Spirit.
Look at that, leads in quite well, that, because my next best will be Hitman in the Game Spirit, and your next best will be?
It's going to be Glory and Fortune in the Betfair hurdle.
Glory and Fortune. There we go. A decent price for our naps and next best as well there. So that'll be interesting to see how they get on this week. And as always, thanks for all the support recently. Like I say, we've recently got over 1,000 subscribers. We do appreciate all the support, and the channel should continue to grow. So yeah, keep subscribing. Give the video a like if you are enjoying them. Comment down below if you're nap of the weekend, and we will see you next weekend for our weekend preview. Thanks for watching.